Okay, welcome back again. This is El Maestro and this is my YouTube channel. Okay, welcome back. Thank you for always tuning in. And this time we'll have factoring a perfect square trinomial. Okay? So, sa katong mga bago lang, thank you. Welcome to my channel. And before proceeding again and again, always remember to rewatch, to review, okay, mga nauna nga video. Okay, because kato mga some topics there is needed sa pagpadayon nato sa kaning nga bag-o nga topic. Okay? So especially yung perfect square na mga numbers, roots, okay? So those things kailangan nato na siya. Okay? So kung you think andam na mo, let's go. Okay, don't worry because I will remind you of some of those things, okay? Especially perfect square. Class, kailangan nato ang perfect square. And kailangan memorize ninyo ni or as much as possible very familiar with this. Kasi if we raise a certain number to 2, that is simply equal to a times a, di ba? So kung imo nang i-apply sa number 1 squared, that is equal to 1 times 1 is equal to 1. That is equal to okay, so 3 squared, that is equal to 9. 4 squared, that is equal to 16. 5 squared, that is equal to 25. 6 squared, 36. 7 squared, okay. Okay. 9 squared, 81. And 10 squared, that is equal to 100. Okay. It does not stop there. Pwede pa na siya 11 squared, 12 squared, 13 squared. Okay, so kanilang sa akong gibuon na class. Always remember, all these numbers are perfect squares. Okay, perfect squares. Dapat memorize na ninyo or at least very familiar with this. And also, we need to know the square roots sa atong perfect square. Again, square root sa atong perfect square. Meaning, if we square a squared or if we square root a squared, that is equal to a. Tama? So kung i-square nimo si 1, 1 is a perfect square, gi-square root nimo that is equal to 1. Si 4 is a perfect square, kuhaon nimo ang square root that is equal to 2. Okay, 9 is a perfect square, gi-square root na imong 3. So you can check using your calculator all these numbers class until 10, okay, or we have 11 squared. So these numbers are the roots of your perfect square. Nganong ako nag-remind kasi gamito nato ni as our lesson progress. Okay? So, take note of this. Get your notebook. Okay? Write down. I-pause ninyo. Write it down. So, if you have already a note with this, i-check ninyo kay para dili mo mabiya sa atong biyahe. Okay? Let's go. So, we are now going to factor a perfect square or factoring a perfect square trinomial. So when factoring a perfect square trinomial class, what we need to do now is to remember, again, quote unquote, remember these patterns so that we can be on the lookout for them when factoring. Meaning, dapat makabaluta, ma-identify nato, kabaluta mo determine, kabaluta mo tanaw sa perfect square trinomial. From the word itself, the phrase itself, ingon siya trinomial, meaning three terms. Diba? Pag naatay makita nga expression nga tulo ka terms, that is a trinomial. Our problem now, class, is if that trinomial is a perfect square. Okay? Perfect square kaya ni nga trinomial. So, ana na lang. So, mao na atong i-determine karon. Okay? So, this is the pattern, class. Again, we need a pattern. Okay, these are the patterns, meaning if you have a squared plus 2ab plus b squared, equal ra na siya sa a plus b quantity squared or a plus b plus, times a plus b. We all know, pag naka-squared, pwede ra nato bulagon. Okay? Or you can have it like this. Tanawa ang middle term. Ang sa tunga, negative, so meaning minus po ang atong factor. All of this class, this is now the perfect square trinomial pattern. Pattern pa lang na siya ha. Mao ni ang perfect square trinomial pattern. If makabalo na ta sa pattern, automatic, this perfect square trinomials, mao ni siya ang iyang factors. Okay, mao niyang factor class. So meaning pag na-determine ni perfect square trinomial ni, automatic mao niyang iyang factor. Okay? So, some of you siguro confused pa until now, but don't worry. I-identify nato, isa-isaho nato karong class unsaon pagkabalo if that certain trinomial is a perfect square. Let's go. So, how to identify a perfect square trinomial? So, sama sa ingon, let's focus on the pattern. Sa pattern lang sa taklas, pag ma-determine nato na automatic, dali na lang kuhaon ang iyang factor. So, first thing is, the first term must be a perfect square. So, meaning, kaning iyang first term class dapat perfect square. Again, that's the reason why gi-brought up na ko tong mga perfect square ganina class. Because dapat ma-identify ninyo ang first term as a perfect square. And also, dapat ma-identify nato the last term must be a perfect square also class. So meaning, this term nga nasa last, dapat perfect square pod. Diba? Okay. So, pag na-determine na nato na, isa na lang atong problema, ang middle term. So, the middle term must be 2 times of the product, okay, product of the roots of the first and last term. Meaning, kuhaonin mo ang root ni first term, kuhaonin mo ang root ni second term, kuhaonin mo ang root ni first term, kuhaonin mo ang root ni last term, imo na siyang i-multiply, then i-times 2 pa jud nimo, dapat mauna ang result sa imong middle term. If that is the result sa imong middle term, we can say now that that certain expression na gihatag sa tuwa is a perfect square trinomial. Okay, so ayaw lang kayo kalibog because, okay, we will have a, okay, so we'll have an example class. Okay, this is this example. Okay, so before proceeding with the example, butang sa nato ang atong pattern. So we need this pattern class. Isa-isaw nato ni atong pattern. Okay? So this is the example. X squared plus 12x plus 36. Okay? If you were asked, okay, find the factor of x squared plus 12x plus 36. So first thing na nakita nato karon class, tulo siya ka term. So naa siya tulo ka term. So if naa tulo ka term, pwede nato basic perfect square trinomial ni i-test nako. Let's test. Tanaw nato, let's evaluate. Ingon sa to ang pattern, the first term must be a perfect square. Is x squared a perfect square? Yes. X squared is a perfect square. Pasok sa first pattern. Second pattern, ang giingon sa second pattern is the last term must be a perfect square. Is 36 a perfect square? Pasok. Pasok tayo sa second pattern. And the last pattern is, ingon siya, ang middle term daw nato class, dapat product siya sa roots sa imong first and last term times 2. Is 12x product sa roots sa imong terms nga first and last times 2 pagyud. So unsa atong unang buhaton? Kuhaon sa nato ang roots ni first term. Unsa ang root ni first term? So i-square root nimo si x squared and that is equal to x. You get also the root of the last term na 36 and that is equal to 6. Diba? Naana ni ganina? Square root of 36. So, since nakuha na nato ang ilang mga roots, makuha na nato ang iyang middle term. Matest na nato ang middle term. So, tanaw ang middle term class. So, middle term, ingon niya, product ni roots sa imong first and last. So, unsa ang root ni first term? Diba? X. Unsang root ni last term? 6. So that is x times 6, then times 2 pagyud ingon niya. So that is equal to 12x. Then you check, you compare. Is 12x middle term equal to the middle term sa atong given? Since equal, then pasok tayo sa ating test sa pattern. So since that is now pasok sa pattern nato, we can say that this is a perfect square trinomial. So, ingana lang class. So, kung perfect square trinomial na, we can now get the factor by using our pattern. So, we need a pattern. Unsa nga pattern natong gamiton? This pattern. Tanawa. Kaya ang atong given class, puro plus tanan. So, atong gamiton nga pattern, katong puro plus tanan. So, that is equal to, okay? So, kani ang atong sundon. So, you write down now, you're given kasi pangitao na nato ang factor. Unsaon pagpangita sa factor? Ingon niya class, kailangan lang nato ang atong okay, kani class. Root sa imong first term. Kaya ano man, ang root sa imong first term mo man na si A, di ba? Ang root sa imong second term or last term is mauna si B. So meaning that is A plus B, therefore that is equal to X plus 6. Then, squared quantity or parenthesis. Or pwede nimo bulagon. Okay? So, yung ana lang class mag-factor of a perfect square trinomial. So, kailangan lang dyan yun nato i-determine if that is a perfect square trinomial. Okay? So, let's have another example. So, this time, so you use the pattern, i-check na tong pattern kung pasok. First term is a perfect square. 4 is a perfect square. R squared is a perfect square. Pasok. Okay. Next, last term. Check. Is 9 a perfect square? Pasok. Very good. So let's have now the last term. To get the last the middle term. To get the middle term, kuhaon sa nato ang square root ni first term. So square root of 4r squared, that is equal to 2r. Then square root ni 9, that is equal to 3. So makuha na nato karon class si middle term. So to get the middle term, product daw nilang duha. Okay? So that is 2 times 2r times 3. And that is equal to 12r. So check. Is 12r the same with here? Pareha? Pareha. So meaning pasok yan. So we can now say, therefore, that this is a perfect square trinomial. Okay? After sa atong evaluation. So we can get now the factor using the pattern. Class, take note of the pattern. Tanawang pattern. This time, ang atong gigamit is minus na po ang middle term. Nga naman, minus man ang middle term sa atong given. So if minus ang middle term, we will use this factor. Okay? So that is equal to a minus b parenthesis squared or a minus b times a minus b. Okay. So automatic, we know that your first term nga root is maunang imong a and root sa imong last term is maunang imong b. So therefore, that is equal to 2r minus 3. Or you can have it 2r minus 3 times 2r minus 3 or 2r minus 3 squared. So, ingana lang magkuha og factor ni perfect square trinomial class. So, ang lisod lang yun diri or ang medyo gamay nga medyo kailangan nimo is to evaluate if kana nga trinomial is a perfect square ba. Again, before proceed ta sa mga activities ninyo na nasa inyong module or sa inyong notebook or sa inyong book. So again, let's have this one. So check the middle first term. Pasok. That is a perfect square. Next. 25 at perfect square. Pasok. Okay? So next is get the square root sa bawat first and last term. So square root of 9r squared is that is equal to 3r. Next, square root of 25, that is equal to 5. So check the middle term. So that is 3r times 5 times 2. Diba? Kay 2 times the product of first and last roots. Okay? So pila man na siya? 2 times 3, that is 6 times 5, that is equal to 30. Check. If pareha. Oh. What's the problem here now, class? Meaning, ang middle term is not the middle term pala na kailangan niya to be a perfect square. Since dili man mao ang middle term niya, class, so that is not a perfect square trinomial. So meaning, though ang last term niya o ang iyang first term, class, is a perfect square, so dili buot pasabot nga automatic perfect square trinomial siya. Okay? You have to check first the middle term if pasok siya sa atong definition sa pattern number 3. So therefore, this is not a perfect square trinomial. So therefore, we cannot factor the given using the patterns a minus 2ab plus b squared or a plus 2ab plus. So we cannot use this pattern class. Though ma-factor na siya sa lain nga pamaagi, pero we cannot factor that one using this pattern. Ana lang siya kasimple. Okay? So, in your module class, namo yung ani, or some of you answering different module. So, supply the missing term to make a true statement. So, dali lang no. Tanawon lang nimo ang first term niya if that is the root of the first term sa imong factor. Di ba? Unsang root di ni d squared? Di ba d? Next, unsang root ni 36? Mao nang 6. Kung i-check nimo ang middle term, that is 6 times d, di ba? Times 2, pila? 12d. So, tama ang middle. So, this is it. Okay, next. Check the first term. 16t squared. What is the square root of 16? 4. What is the square root of t squared? That is t. So, pasok. So, unsa ang imong last term? Square root sa imong last term? That is 9. So, tanawa class, ang iyang sign minus kay minus mang imong term. Okay? Next. You have x to the fourth y squared. So class, isa-isaw nimo nag-square root. Sama sa ingon ako, divisible by 2, so perfect square. So x to the fourth class, pag imo nang square root, that is equal to x squared. Y squared, square root, that is y. So pasok. Last term, square root of 9, z squared, that is 3z. Class, naa pa siya missing ang sign sa tunga. So check the sign nga naa diri. Since minus man ang sign, you put minus sign. Okay? So class, kanang tulo lang sa atong answeran. You continue. Okay, you answer that one. Okay, and the rest of the exercises and assessment na nasa inyong module. Okay? So that's our lesson for today. Okay, class. Nakabalo na mo unsa ang pag-identify sa perfect square trinomial, and after identifying a perfect square trinomial, makuha na nimo ang iyang factors. Okay? Again, this is El Maestro. So, thank you for watching, guys. As an appreciation sa inyong salamat yung kayo. I will continue to upload mga videos para at least mag-guide mo sa inyong module. And if you have question, just comment it down sa comment section. If naamoy nalibugan, if naamoy wa nasabtan, if meron kayong mga bagay na gustong i-clarify, just comment it sa message box, sa comment box, para at least we can make video regarding sa inyong nalibugan or sa inyong kung asa mo na confused. Okay? So tell your friends that El Maestro is here to help you. Once again, thank you and God bless.